You know, a lot of people talk about politics like it's just a game of rich versus poor. But when you actually listen to the voices on the streets of the UK, you realize something deeper. People are frustrated. They feel left out. And it's not just about money. It's about representation, dignity, and lived experience.
Glad to have you all here. Shelby, the president hasn't shut down the idea of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Why not? What is Trump's inner circle telling him?
You know, it's really interesting because I've talked to a lot of administration officials and a lot of people close to the president, sort of in this MAGA universe. I haven't heard anybody suggest to me that it would be a good idea to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, even setting aside sort of what she has been convicted of, just politically for the president. Nobody has sort of laid that out, that they think that it would be beneficial to the president. They actually think the exact opposite, that it would complicate things. It's not something that the majority of the base seems to want. And so I thought it was really interesting, his response there, because when I talk to people inside and around the White House, the general consensus is this should not happen.
One man recently said, "We need more working class people running the country. Because posh politicians, they just don't get it. They've never struggled. They've never been poor. They've never had to decide between paying the rent or buying food for their kids."
I think it's an open question. And I've talked to a lot of people who argue, you know, this is one of the most investigated, looked into situations in decades. And so there's a lot of skepticism that there's going to be some sort of bombshell that comes out of this that we don't already know. And then the other question, of course, is this Ghislaine Maxwell interview, is the release of testimony, is that going to satisfy the base who for years now have sort of thought that there was some sort of unknown bombshell waiting to be released?
You know what? He's absolutely right. The majority of people making decisions in Parliament have no idea what it means to live on the edge. They've always had everything: private schools, family wealth, political connections. But how can someone lead a nation they've never truly understood?
Yeah, it's hard to see how that really makes any sense, because this interview with Maxwell doesn't make sense politically, as you've just been talking about, because folks within Trump's own base, as well as other folks outside of the base, believe that there are powerful people who are not being held to account in this case and want more transparency. But on the one hand, Ghislaine Maxwell, legally speaking, is the most unreliable witness you can possibly say. She's clearly doing it because she wants to get her sentence reduced or eliminated altogether, be released, and that means she is incentivized to say anything. She is sitting in prison right now with very little chance of getting out anytime soon. So it's not reliable information, but whatever from it is released is not going to be satisfactory to those who are still clamoring for more transparency. So it seems like a lose-lose situation.
Just think about it. How many times have you heard a politician say, "We care about working families"? And yet, the policies they push don't reflect that care. Rising rent, low wages, underfunded schools, and overburdened hospitals. It's not just a crisis. It's neglect.
And Asha, here is some of what Trump had to say about the meetings between Deputy AG Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. Take a listen.
I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You're making a very big thing over something that's not a big thing.
Now imagine someone in office who's actually lived that life, who's worked 2 jobs, who's had their benefits cut, who stood in line at the food bank. Wouldn't they fight harder? Wouldn't they care more? One speaker said, "The working class has ideas. We have intelligence. We just haven't been given the platform." And that's exactly it. The system is designed to favor the elite, to keep the same faces rotating in and out of power, while real people stay struggling.
Look, you're also a lawyer. So when Todd Blanche reports back to Trump, is he doing it in his capacity as the Deputy Attorney General for the country, or as Trump's personal attorney, as he once was? And still, apparently, if you listen to the former AG Eric Holder, has said that he continues in that role as well. Is the fact that we have to ask that question an issue in itself? a problem?
That's exactly what I was going to say, Alex, is that the fact that you're asking that question tells you that this is a conflict. Let's remember that as Deputy Attorney General, his client is the people of the United States of America. And the people of the United States of America have already prosecuted a case against Ghislaine Maxwell and obtained a conviction, and she has been sentenced to 20 years. So it is just on its face not in the interest of his client to go and interview her. And I can tell you that, having been an FBI agent, it's highly unusual to go and interview someone when you are probably one of the people least familiar with that case. Who is familiar with that case? Well, there's the prosecutor, Maureen Comey, who was fired. There are probably many FBI agents, but he didn't take any of them. So how are you going to interview someone who's in a position you think to give you information when you don't even know whether what they're saying is true? That's the entire point. You go in knowing more than your subject. And that is clearly not happening here. And whatever information that she could potentially provide is never going to lead to any kind of prosecution. As we just heard, she's probably the most unreliable person. I mean, they're not going to build a case around her. There's no point here.
Right.
It's time we stop romanticizing the idea of professional politicians. Maybe the best leaders are the ones who've lived the hardest lives. The ones who don't just read reports, they've lived the reality. So next time you hear a working class voice speak out, don't dismiss it. Listen, because maybe, just maybe, that voice knows more about leadership than any polished career politician ever will.